day, and welcome to my channel, Who's Your Outdoor 1969. Today I'm going over a rifle that I just rebuilt here recently. What this started out at is a pre-Accu-Trigger Savage Model 11 in 22-250. It started out with a wood stock and a pencil barrel with actually iron sights, even though it was drilled and tapped. I've had this rifle for probably close to 20 years, give or take. I know I don't quite have as many through this one as I do my 308. I probably got, I don't know, 5,000 to 10,000 rounds through it. From the get-go, it always shot good. You know, even with the little pencil barrel, even after I got it smoking hot, I could still do 5-shot groups at 100 yards and be able to cover them with a dime. But, you know, when the Valkyrie came out, I see the point behind it, but I just thought it was kind of odd considering it put a fast twist barrel on your 22-250, you got the same thing, other than the fact that it's not an AR-15 platform. But that kind of got the gears turning in my head, and it finally got to the point it was like, man, why the hell not? So, over time, I started getting bits and pieces together, and how I have it set now is I'm actually very pleased with it. I got another MDT product. It's their Oryx chassis, and well, they call it flat dark earth. I call it mud because that's kind of what it resembles. The barrel, it's a 26-inch McGowen barrel with a 1-7 twist, and the muzzle brake there is actually a a Midwest Industries threaded in 5/8 by 24. AICS style magazine, which in this case is from MagPul. One thing I did with doing the research on this, one thing I found out is with the taper of the 22-250 case and a standard 308 magazine, because of the way it's tapered, you can get maybe 5 rounds in there. After that, it starts kind of bulging the magazine out and starts binding everything up. I'm still working on the gears in my head, trying to figure out a way how I can get that to feed, because that's a 10-round magazine, and I'd at least like to get it to feed 5 rounds reliably. I have noticed that if I got a couple of pieces of cardstock to help shift the bullets over, or well, not just the bullets, but the rounds over, and keep them more in a slightly staggered instead of an extremely staggered feed, I can get 5 in it, but that 5th one's a challenge. I want to at least be able to get those 5 in there without any issue, so I'm still working on a fix for that. Other than that, magazine, I can get, put 3 or 4 rounds in it, and it feeds them just fine. I don't have them getting them hung up. Speech impediment today. I don't have them getting hung up or bound up or anything like that. I can also single feed, but I do got to actually start it into the chamber a little bit before I run the bolt home. The bolt handle, more specifically, is one of my favorites. The BA-110 bolt handle. There's a lot of meat there to grab hold of, and that's always one of my biggest complaints about Savage. Every Savage I've ever been on has this teeny tiny little handle that even just, doing single shots, you gotta put yourself in weird positions to get that handle open because it's so short and stubby. The 110 here, which came out when they came out with the BA-110 platform, gives you a lot more to grab hold of, and I really love that handle. Like I said, it's on my 338 Lapua. I liked it so much that I put it on got one for my 308, and liked it even more that I bought one for this. Alright, the scope, let me turn this, is an Athlon Optics Argos BTR first focal plane, 6 to 24 by 50 with an MOA adjust. I found the owner's manual for it, and there's a picture of the reticle in there, so I will put a picture of that into this video. That way you can at least see what the reticle looks like. It's actually a pretty plain, simple reticle, but unfortunately I don't think they make this particular scope anymore. I think they replaced it with something else, because I haven't seen it anywhere, and I don't see it on their website anymore. Athlon, about a mid-range. If I remember right, I paid between $400 to $500 for that scope. If you're putting on a super magnum like the 338 Lapua, I probably wouldn't do it because I've had another one which I got to send in. The recoil was enough that it actually jarred something loose and moisture got inside it. But yeah, I would say like on a 300 or 300 rum, something like that, something smaller than the Super Mags. It shouldn't be a problem because I had this particular scope on my 308 and never had a bit of problem out of it. I spin it up to 27 minutes, it goes 27 minutes. I drop it back down, it goes right back to 0. I don't have my notes for my numbers on this one for 22250, but I do have targets from when I initially started doing the load developments. I'll get to that here shortly. The stock, like I said, it's an Oryx chassis from MDT. You got 2 set screws and you can adjust your cheek weld. Your buttstock or butt pad is adjustable for length of pull via spacers, which right now there's only one spacer in it. I may get another one a little later down the road to bump it out just a little bit more. There's 2 screws here in the back. I believe you just loosen those and then they kind of rock and lock, and then you tighten them back up. The trigger is still factory trigger, which in this one here, oddly enough, isn't too bad. I'm still going to replace it, I just don't know with what yet. I know in both my 338 and my 308 I have a Rifle Basics trigger, so that may be what I put in this one. I'm not sure yet, I haven't really decided. The base and rings are from EGW. The base is a 20 MOA, and the rings are 30 mil low, if I remember correctly. That's one thing I did not write down. Alright, the muzzle brake, as I said, is from Midwest Industries, just a 3-port, which being a 22250, you don't really need it, but I had it, so why not? Let's see, what else do I have on here? Let's see, I can't remember if I covered it or not because I'm not checking these off as I go through my notes here, but like I said, it's a McGowen barrel, 26 inch with a 7 twist. Okay, looks like I got all that covered, so I'm going to pause so I can do a little repositioning here. And then that way I can go over the targets. I will return. Alright, I am back. I am doing this by hand now, so hopefully this works pretty good. Okay, I have 200 rounds through the barrel now. So things are slowly working on getting itself broke in. Alright. When I first got it, I was trying, getting it zeroed in and all that stuff. So this is my sight in around here. Initially sighted it in for 300 yards, but like I said, I wanted to do some groups, so I had to figure out how much I needed to move to that way my point of aim and point of impact would be the same. Right. I have one group on here, this one here. As you can tell, I was not impressed with it, but I think maybe I just had it I may have had it seated too long, I'm not sure. But that's like 2 5/8. And last time I was out, I did the same group again, same load, and I got way less than that. Now, all my after I did these groups, I went out, like I said, I went out again. I did all my shooting at 600, so I don't have any pictures of that. I was just trying to figure out, see how well it's going to perform. If maybe it was just a fluke that I had a bad day, which seems to happen with me quite often. But like I said, this one here initially did not go good, but second time around it actually shot really good. Let's see, what do we got here? This is IMR with 4350. Initial group wasn't so bad. This was with the 77 grains, and oddly enough, the second time around with the 77 grains, it still didn't perform all that well. Okay, and then this one here is 80 grain ELDs with Reloader 19, so that one didn't do too bad. And got 77 grain again, and still didn't perform all that well. Got just over an inch. Like I said, all these groups here that you're seeing now are at 100 yards. Maybe about 110, either 100 or 110, I don't remember which. Now, 77 grain with the Reloader 19 wasn't too bad. That one performed pretty good. However, the one that surprised me the most was actually my initial break-in rounds, which was this one right here, H380 and 73 grain ELDs. I got a .7. So I loaded up. I actually went up to max because I was a grain below max. If I remember, I was a grain below max on all these. And at 600 yards, it just basically stacked them right on top of each other just like this, which kind of annoyed me because I was wanting to shoot heavy grain bullets out of it, and those performed really well, at least initially. Alright, there's another one, 4064. That one's not too bad. That was 80.5 grain burger. I've shot burgers in my 308 before in 168 grain. They're VLDs many years ago, and they actually shot really good. It was the only time I've ever gotten a one-hole group, and I was actually using Reloader 15 at that time, which is still a good powder. I just don't use it too much anymore. Okay, coming down here. I don't remember what that was. I think that was just me trying to figure out who, what, or where. I was just dicking around. I don't remember. But I didn't mark anything like that, so it was probably just nothing. Okay, and this one here is 80 grain ELDs, which second time around these performed pretty good too. 4350. This doesn't seem like 4350. I got a 260 also that doesn't seem to like 4350. I'm like maybe middle of the road on that, and I keep popping primers. But anywho, IMR 4350. It didn't seem to like that either with the 80 grains. Another one of my favorite powders is the 2000 MR, which didn't like. Like a 1.14. Then Accurate 4064 here, which is what I use in my 308, didn't do too bad there. I think a little fine tuning, and that one will probably come out pretty good. But like I said, after all these, I went out again. Like I said, I went with a max charge of a H380 and the 73 grain ELDs, and those didn't fail to impress me. They shot just as good then as they did when I did these targets. Reloader 19 and the 80 grain ELDs shot really good. Got actually two different charge weights. I got a 37 and a 38 grain load, and both those shot really good. I think the 38 shot just a little better. And then I tried the Reloader 19 again with the 85 grain RDFs, and those stacked right on top of each other, basically like the 73 grainers here at 600 yards. And the sad part is, where I go to shoot my long range at, I got a tape measure, clipped to my range bag, but anytime I go down and check my groups, I never remember to grab it, so I can actually measure and take pictures to verify or to prove. So I know there's people out there that do like to cause issues. Not that I got much room to talk, because I do like stirring the pot. That will call foul, no picture, no proof, stuff like that, that's fine. I do the same thing. You're telling me you can shoot one-hole groups at 1,000 yards, but you have nothing to back it up with. I'm going to call BS too. So I take no offense to it if people don't believe me. But I do really need to get into the habit of doing that if I'm going to brag about groups. Let's see, was there anything else? No, nothing I can think of offhand. I don't remember if I said in the video or not, which I think I did. I have 200 rounds through the rifle now, and the barrel seems to be starting to settle down and get all nice and seasoned. I know I got to get more bullets because I'm kind of out. So I think next time I go out, I'll do some video shooting of me shooting out, 600 to 1,000 yards. I don't know how well that 1,000 yards is going to come out though. Yeah, we'll see. And I will actually take my tape measure down and measure the groups so I can verify and prove what I'm saying isn't BS. But yeah, I was at the range actually just this past weekend, and I was talking to my friend there, and we all kind of came, because he was making a comment about the Valkyrie, and I think the Valkyrie, it could have been a better round than what it was. I think the biggest problem is they rushed to market too quick, didn't have everything all figured out. And I think that's why it ended up kind of going away, because people started getting disappointed about it, because they were bragging about all this stuff it can do, and all of a sudden it started having issues. And now I don't know if it blew up any guns, but they start blowing primers, bullets start coming apart in flight and stuff like that. The accuracy is going out the window. I think people just said screw it and forgot about it. Which, in my opinion, the 22-250 is the original Valkyrie. Throw a fast twist barrel on it, and you can do the same thing the Valkyrie does. The only difference is the Valkyrie is in an AR platform. This here is in a bolt action. But I see the cat's bellowing. But anywho, I will wrap this up. And as far as when it posts, I'm not sure. But like I said, I will post a video, get a picture, edit it into somewhere in the video here. That way you can see what the reticle looks like on the scope there. So I know another good scope to use, which I have 2 of them, is actually from Vortex. It's their Venom series. The biggest hang up, probably maybe for some people, is that it's either a 34 or 35 mil tube. So finding rings for them, they're hard because it's an oddball size and they ain't cheap. I know AGW carries them because that's I had to get those when I put that scope on my 308. I think next review I do will probably be on my 308 that I've had for ever. So that's actually the first rifle that I could say rebuilt. Not that Savage are easy to work on. You got basically a nut that holds everything together, and you also got a nut that kind of holds the rifle, but that's a different story. But yeah, I love Savage because they're super simple to work on. From the factory, it's a good bang for your buck. Every Savage I've ever had that's in factory form, I've gotten MOA or better at 100 yards. I think they screwed up when they put the Accu-Trigger in it. I mean, I see the point behind it. That way it gives the user the ability to, lighten the trigger up without putting themselves in jeopardy, since everything's lawyerized. That way the companies can stay out of trouble. But that extra piece of metal and that little slit they put in the trigger for the little flapper there, I can feel that, and it messes with me. That's the biggest reason why I changed it to my 338. So I don't know, I'd start, leaning on the trigger, and I could feel my finger folding into it, and it would just mess with me. Swapped out the trigger, and my shooting got better. But it's a matter of preference. Some people love the Accu-Trigger, some people don't. Some people, it's a trigger, so they ain't worried about it. So, which, they're right. No big deal. Well, I will call it for today. And until next time, take it easy.